interviewing for the second round. And then I'm pretty sure all of you went through SEO second round interview already, and you have good memories of it. And then just bring it back, that memory, when you do interview with our candidates. So with the interview today, there's probably going to be several points that I want to share with you guys first, and then any specific question can be addressed after. First of which is the goal of second round interviews. Why are we doing second round interview? Second part is what are we looking for in our candidates, and then the third part would be a little bit on the behavioral interview technique. There are also some sample questions available in your guidelines already. And then after that, we'll do discussions, and I'll answer any question if you guys have any. Just to double check, can you guys hear me clearly? All right, good. Captain say yes, so that's good. All right, guys. So what is our goal in doing the second round interviews? So the main goal of doing our second round interview is to identify a candidate that is aligned with SEO values, have exhibit leadership, and to present to our employer partners. I think that most of the candidates who passed round one interview has passed the academic requirement of the program already. So for round two, we focus more on identify the trait that we want to see in our students in the programs. And then we also want to interact them to make sure that they are the candidate that we are willing to present to our partners. So again, I think it's more, in this round, it's less focused on their academic background and more on the leadership potential that they have for themselves. So that in mind, I'll go over very quickly some interview tips that you guys can refer to, very, very general. If you guys have interviewed people before, you find it's very relevant and familiar with you guys. I've done in the past for SEO candidate usually lasts about 1 hour. Depending on how the conversation goes, it can be less, probably 45 minutes. I haven't seen any 30 minutes, but in general, keep it a max 1 hour. That is to ensure that your time is being used wisely, and it's also to ensure that we'll give fair treatment to all of our candidates. Everyone have at maximum 1 hour to impress us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the medium. Usually most of you guys are overseas, and then for the spring program, most of the candidates are located in Vietnam. So I'm assuming either a combination of, mostly it's going to be done online. It's either Skype interview or phone interview if you guys are located in Vietnam. So with Skype and phone, just make sure that you have good internet connections so that you can conduct the interview very smoothly. If you do not have good connection, just feel free to reschedule the interview. Do not go into the interview halfway and then get cut off because of technical issue in between. You can do it with or without the. I would prefer to do it with the videos, just to see how just to have an interaction with the candidates, see if they actually dress up professional enough for the interview. But if a video interview in as possible, that's not a big deal either. So that's on the medium. Right. The second thing we want to keep in mind that we are not, for the second round, we are not here to judge or test the candidate technical ability. We haven't figured for that. For this round, we only focusing on their fit with our programs in terms of leadership potential, in terms of value alignment, and are they the right people that we can present to our partners. We believe that testing on technical ability to our employers, they are in a better position to do that. And so that's on the technical ability. Let's see, what else do we have here? And the other thing that we want to keep in mind that so this is the first year we're doing the programs. Most of the students located in Vietnam. Many of you guys are located overseas and have few experience interviewing local candidates. So something to keep in mind first is we're not here to test their English ability. Some of them may not speak English as fluently as you guys, but as long as they can comfortably and clearly articulate their ideas, then it's good to go. They do not have to be absolutely fluent in English. Also, the other thing that to keep in mind when interviewing local candidates is that they might get really nervous during the interview because this is probably the first, second time that they do interview maybe. So what I usually do is I usually just warm them up in the beginning by kind of like asking how are they doing, where are they located now in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, kind of like strike up a conversation with them to make them feel comfortable. And then in the middle of the interview, if they get a nervous breakdown or they get so concerned and things like that, try to calm them down, saying it's okay, you're doing a good job, things like that. Then it's really helpful for them to carry on with the interview. So those are the things, there are a few tips to keep in mind on the interviewing parts. Any questions so far? No? Okay. All right. I'll move right ahead into more specifically the criteria that we're looking for our candidate, and then after that I'll share with you guys a little bit about the interviewing format, specifically the behavioral interviewing format. So again, with SEO, this year we are looking for potential leaders. So leadership potential is important for us. And what do I mean by leadership potentials? You see the interview guideline here. It's very comprehensive already. But just to reiterate the points about leadership potential, first is your interpersonal skill. What does that mean? That means teamwork, that means your perseverance, your self-awareness, and communication skill. The other part of being that show us about leadership potential is also in terms of like community service. So to really be holistic leaders, you really stress on the community service part of the programs, which means that they need to demonstrate their passion for contributing to Vietnam. And they have, it's not just passion, but they have somehow contributed in terms of action. What kind of community service have they done? What is the result of it? And what is satisfied or not satisfied with? What do they plan to do forward? So really stretching, really focus on the community service, social responsibility path this year, and what have they done on it, not just pure saying that they have passion about community service. So those are in terms of the leadership potentials. And then the other criteria that I've mentioned to you guys already, it's mainly we trust your gut feeling on this. At the end of the day, when candidates that have passed through Route 2 are the one that we're going to present to our partners. So you already in SEO, you know our partners, you know how the program is. When you check a yes to this candidate, that means that you feel like they are a good representation of SEO to the employer partner. So we generally, there's no hard criteria on this. It's mainly your gut feeling on we present this candidate to our partners. Okay. Questions? Questions so far? No. Okay. I'm not gonna go through all of the slides that you guys see here. You guys have it on your own already. Just gonna talk to you guys really quick about the behavioral interview technique that we have here, and how do you guys best utilize it to identify the candidate for route 2. So generally, I'm pretty sure you guys went through this yourself already in terms of behavioral interview. Those of you who have had internship or who have landed a job. So behavioral interview is mainly designed to surface a pattern of behavior, to inquire the students about their experience in the past. Then through that, you see how this person perform in the futures. So with that, when we ask questions, we ask about actual situations that have happened in the past, and then let the student, and then we can in turn prompt very specific question into this to see if the student is actually have that a TRIA criteria that we looking for in our program. Let's see, what else do you have here? So usually when we're dealing with behavior interview, we usually start it with questions. How do you resolve the situation and things like that. So the key in doing behavior interview question is to be very detail oriented, and then to really prop into the question, not just let run the question on the stand. I think that's about it for me. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up? Hello, guys. Any questions? You're not very sure of what, but how strict you should be in terms of all right, verbal communication in English. Nana, can you clarify on this? In terms of can the interview be communicated in English or Vietnamese? My general rules of thumb is I would not conduct the interview in Vietnamese. It has to be in English. However, we're not here to judge their English ability. So as long as they can express themselves clearly in English, that would be good enough for an SEO candidate. Well, I say that we can switch to Vietnamese if the candidate is not comfortable. I would not recommend doing that. And here's the reason I don't recommend doing that.
Attendees are muted and may unmute themselves by pressing *6.
And the reason I don't recommend doing that is we are identifying leaders, and the ability to communicate in English is very crucial. By communicating in English, I don't mean you have to give a speech in English, but at least communicate yourself clearly in English. So that's very crucial. That's part of being in our programs. So I would not conduct the interview in Vietnamese. And also keep in mind that most, if you interview into most company these days, you're gonna have an interview in English at some point during the interview process. Any other questions, guys? What do you mean by tricky or difficult questions? Can you give me an example? the interviewee asks you technical question that you are unsure about, sorry, can you be more specific, I guess? In what situation would the interviewee ask you like technical questions? Yeah, I think there's several cases that those questions can come into. First of all, if the question come to specifically to the SEO program recruiting process, like how many people are you accepting this year? When can we hear back from you? Things like that. Things that I think there's something that internally we will not share, and then something that you guys is unsure of. I think it's something internally that we don't share, like how many people are we accepting this year, how many positions are available, like that. You can say that if they ask you how many interns are you taking this year, you can just share with them that the number is really not final yet, and it's really we don't know the number until the end of the program. What else? When can you hear back from them? When can they hear back from you? Say with a question like that, you can just defer to the recruitment team, saying that maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks, then the recruitment team will get back to you. I think in terms of, and then other things are specifically like marketing technique or things like that, I don't think they, in general, in my experience interviewing with SEO candidates, they usually don't ask specific things like that during your internship. And then, I mean, even if they're going to ask you about the marketing technique, my recommendation is to be honest about it. What do you do in the internship? Yeah, Yang just add in her opinion on that. I guess if you don't know something, you can just tell them that this is not within your expertise, and then you can check and get back to them later. How do you recognize if candidate is overstating their achievement? This is actually not that hard to identify in the interview. The key to uncover if someone is actually overstating their achievement or not is being very detail oriented during the interview and prompting the candidate into their questions. So say, for example, if you look, you ask somebody about, all right, so tell Right. Tell me, let's say the question is, tell me about your proudest achievement, something like that. And then when the candidate start telling about the achievement, uh, you ask prompting question that is very detail oriented. Let's see. I think there's a line in the, in the slide about that part. 1 second. Alright, so say for example, if they say that to convince the teammate about how important it is to work together and finish the project on time, then you come in and you ask them right away, well, what specifically that person do to persuade their teammate. Um, and then when they respond to that, as I was spoke to her about this and this and that, and you popping into the questions to say, all right, that you call her, you email her, you text her, you meet her in person. What specific? What specifically you said to that person to convince them. So I think by being very detail oriented, you can uncover right away if the candidate is overstating or not. Because usually if people overstating their achievement or even say something that untrue on your on the resume, you can tell right away that they lie because they would not be able to recount to cite the details. And I think also the other part of this is, I mean, if people overstating their achievement or not is actually quite a subjective, um, evaluation as well. So this is something the interviewer has to come in and say, all right, is it really what they put onto the on the CV? Yeah. So chị Giang added in here that her recommendation that the interviewer needs to do homework before the interview. I think my interpretation of that is you probably 15-20 minutes before the call with the candidate, you actually pull out their CV and their application, take a look over it, and then kind of like familiarize with their background, their experience, and things like that. So it's make it easier for you to prompt questions, for them. There you go.
Also, sorry, this is Catherine speaking. Also, relating to like the previous point, I think that like asking for more detail really helps. It's actually reminding me of some candidates that added, like in the answer, they just kept going on and on with a lot of details. So what would you do in that situation? And she had to feel free to chime in. So I think that sometimes, I mean, it can be rude, but sometimes you just gotta stop the candidate and clarify more on like his or her previous point. So sometimes they just keep adding a bunch of little details here and there, and then you just really want to truly understand exactly what they did for a particular piece. So let me know if it doesn't make sense. Just because I remember for my first interviewing experience, I let the candidate talk for 10 minutes. But then after that, I was like, I couldn't really determine exactly what he or she was explaining, what they did. I just couldn't really get anything from that. So just remember, watch out for those situations. Feel free to stop the candidate and just clarify on their points.
Yeah, if the case happened that the candidate tends to run on and on and on, do not feel bad to interrupt them. And if they go on and on and on and do not address your points, then just guide them back to the questions. If you ask them what community serve, tell me about a time when you're run into failure and how do you learn from it. And then if they go on for like 5 minutes about a failure and then did not really address what do they actually learn from it, then you step in and then you say them, all right, so tell me specifically what do you learn from the experience. So that would help guide them back to the main points, and then also help save time for you and then your interviewee as well. Any other questions? I'm actually just gonna really sum it up for you guys about route to interview and what is the main point or main tips we should keep in mind about route to interview. It's I'm not sure how many of you have done interview with local candidates. It's actually not it's not really hard. It's not too challenging. Just a few things to keep in mind that you can that will help you uncover the student that is best fit into SEL programs. So number one is for route to interview, the main thing that we look at is first leadership potential. And by leadership potential, I mean interpersonal skill, teamwork, persevering drive, really action oriented. And the second thing is their passion for contribute to the development of Vietnam. And by passion, they would need to show us not only that they care about Vietnam, but also they did something. They did a community service, they joined a cause, things like that, to show that this is not thinker, but they can actually take action. So those are the two important things that we need to keep in mind. I think given the case that most candidates are in Vietnam right now, most of the candidates are located in Vietnam. There should be no reason that they did not do a community service or join a cause that contributed to the development of Vietnam. So those are the important things to keep in mind. We are not here to judge their technical ability. We leave that job to the interviewer, not the employer in Route 3. Most of the candidates, I believe that most of the candidates that have passed through Route 1 have actually satisfied our academic requirements, so no need for testing them on technical skill or academic skill, unless you feel that actually having a conversation on technical subjects or academic subjects actually help you assess the candidate criteria, as I mentioned above. What else? The other thing to keep in mind is also key to most of the candidates are local students. They may not be completely fluent in English. So as long as they have the ability to express themselves clearly in English, they may speak slowly, but as long as they can express themselves in English clearly, that's good to go already. So those are the few things that just want you guys to keep in mind to carry on with the interview in route 2. And then I saw a question. Since the interviewer have question about SEO, are there any topic we should mention or answer? Yes, anything that disclose our grading, interviewing, selection guideline, in my opinion. In general, the candidate who do their homework are familiar with the general criteria that we're looking for in our candidate: leadership potential, passion about Vietnam, etc., things like that. But any specific things that mentioned in the guideline are those that we should not discuss. What else? How many people? What is our acceptance rates? We do not disclose that to the students. How many people get from route 1 to route 2 or route 2 to route 3? Those are the things we don't disclose.
Okay, so anyone have any more questions? Um,
I think Ji Yang just bring up a point about what to pay attention to actually what the student do outside of school, not community service as well. I mean, I hope they would do some kind of community service so to fit in with our value for SEO, because we do really look for leaders that have social responsibility. But I think also other, depending on the I guess what year the student are in. If they probably in second year, which I don't think we have a lot of, they might not have the opportunity to do community service. So anything outside of community service, they do in a fan club, they lead a club, or things that can also count. All right, guys, any other questions?
So if you guys don't have any more questions, shall I just show the video of Anh Tony? Want to give a message to them?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. I actually just wanted to have a few words for you before the round 2 interview.
Then would it be quicker if I can use the play YouTube video function on this instead of sharing screen?
Because it's not working on my computer. Try on your computer, actually.
Okay. So,
So if you click on more, so to the right of desktop, it has a function saying play YouTube video. Do you guys want to try that?
Yeah, I was pasting that, but it didn't work.
Oh, it didn't work. Oh, so that was that. Okay. I mean, if anything, can you send out the link to the video, and then I guess
yeah,
everyone will have to.
Yeah, everyone get to watch only on their own instead of watching with one of us here. So there you go.
Okay, so I guess that I'll send Anthony's video to you guys later in an email. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, and I think I mean during your interviewing time, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, then you probably can address it to the admission or recruitment team, and then if they if anything that you want to email me to ask me, feel free to do so as well.
Chị Heather, I think Vic just type of questions. Would you mind address it a little bit?
Is there an example from last year that could be helpful? I think so. Lynn, do you have anything from last year? It's I need to. I don't have it available with me right now, but I can certainly look it up and then send it to you guys.
Yeah, I'm sure we have example from last year, and also I think I mean if the grading system is the same as last year, we ask interviewers to write comments. So I think again, comments very valuable and helpful for us. So.
I think what we probably what we can do this year is we can actually record interviews. If we have that function, we can actually record interview and then select from one of those interview to set as an archive for the year after.
You mean record real interviews?
Yeah.
Well, would you need to ask permission from the candidate? So that's something you guys might want to think about. But yeah, that sounds great to me. As long as the candidates give us permission to the video.
I'll leave this to recruitment. Actually, my point of view is I think it's okay for us to recruit, but then when we actually want to share it, then we need their permission.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for doing. Thank you for volunteering to be interviewed with us. I hope that you have good experience from your interview with SEO, and then you bring back those experience to help interview with the student in second round. Is that a questions for me? Can we ask candidate to send their pictures? I think officially we don't require candidates to send in pictures, but
Okay, guys, if we don't have any more questions, or if you do have questions in the future, please send an email to our recruitment team, and then we'll forward it to the previous interviewers. Thank you, Chị Heather, and everyone for coming to the webinar today.
all right,
Okay,
thank
that's
you
the end of
guys.
our, thank you. That's the end of our meeting today.